Hi, 1 and 2-year-old leaders. We're preparing for March 17th. We're continuing our story of Moses and in our series called Goal. And in our series Goal, we're asking one big question and helping kids know the answer. And the big question is, what is God like? I don't know if there's very many times where you wonder, I wonder what God really is like. I know that the more I read the Bible, the more I am aware of God's character and who He is. And so we want kids to totally understand that God is holy, good, and loving. And the and is a big part of that God is not one of those only. He is all of those. And our God is the only God who can be all of those things. Other people have gods who are not holy, or they have gods who are not loving, or they have gods that are not good. And our God is so different. He is all of those all together. This week, as we continue our story, we're going to be talking about how the tabernacle was built. And this is so different than what we understand as far as the church is concerned. When God was with the Israelites, remember, He traveled with them everywhere they went as a cloud. And as they were traveling, He made His presence known. He made His presence known to Moses. Remember, Moses had to guard his face as he came down the mountain, as we'll figure that out in a couple of weeks as we get to that part of the story. But God's presence, people in Israel or a part of the Israelites at that time, were aware of God's presence and where God was, because it was a physical reminder. And so God asked for them to build this tent or church building to be a reminder of God being with them. That way they didn't have to have the pillar of clouds or the anything else that God had given them in the past. They would have the tabernacle to remember that God was there with them. Now, this actually has a much bigger picture, because what God told us, His promise to us was, I am going to make a way for you to have a relationship with me again. And if we remember, one of the things that we know about Jesus is Jesus was Emmanuel, God with us. Jesus was the tabernacle, God with us, that God had desired all along. But until Jesus came to fulfill that part, like everything else had to happen so Jesus could be that person, God decided to help the Israelites build this tabernacle. So it really is more than just like a church building where people could gather. It was God's presence with them, and a symbol of God's presence with them. So make sure you read through your leader guide if you have some more questions on that. I think it's important for all of us to understand that it's not like our local churches now. God's presence is with us everywhere through the Holy Spirit, but the Holy Spirit wasn't there then. God's presence needed to be there as a physical reminder for people. So as a part of this story, we remember that the clouds would be where the people would know that God was. And so today, you're going to have a cloud cut out like this. It'll be taped to a yardstick for you. And what you're going to do is have the kids follow the cloud around the room. And remember that the cloud is a representation, just like the tabernacle was, the cloud was a representation of where God was and where God was meeting with the people. So that is why you're going to be doing that. Could be a fun thing. You may want to ask a few kids to be in charge of moving the cloud around, and everybody has to follow them. And then you have your memory verse, and your memory verse is Matthew 22, verses 37 through 39. And it says, Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your mind. This is the first and the greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself." And so that part you're supposed to give it a big hug. As you're working with your 1-year-olds, I understand that they're not going to probably grasp this whole idea of the tabernacle, but you are helping build a relationship with a kid, helping give a family member a time where they can go and learn and grow and know more about God so they can help their little ones grow more through us building relationships with the kids and doing fun things and doing fun activities with them. Help them learn to trust us, helps them know that we have a schedule, and for many kids, finding a routine helps them build trust. So know that when I am asking you guys to teach 1-year-olds, and that I know are 1-year-olds, it's because of those things. It's not because I'm trying to give you guys more to do. That's not it at all. I want to make sure that we are starting at the very youngest ages, showing families the value of building relationship. And through fun activities, we're hoping that kids will begin to learn to understand who God is and that God designed all along for us to have relationship with Him. Thank you for leading today. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or need help.